I want to make one of my favorite recipes today that up until now I had never put on YouTube. This is a pasta and prosciutto recipe, and I really like prosciutto. According to the original recipe, it's very popular in Bologna, Italy, but virtually unknown outside that area. Well, I'm going to change that today. So let's make pasta and prosciutto. This is the first challenge, finding a place that has prosciutto in one big solid piece so that you can request that it be sliced thickly. This is 1/4 of an inch thick, or about 6 millimeters. I want it thick because I want to dice it up into little cubes for my sauce. You can use the thinly sliced prosciutto, just chop it up really well. The texture of the sauce will be a little bit different, but the flavor will be the same. So what I want to do first of all is cut this into long strips. Now that I have the long strips that I want, then I can start cutting across to get the little dice that I want, like that. So there is my diced prosciutto, and because I think I failed to mention it, what I have here is 3/4 of a pound, or about 340 grams of prosciutto. I've got a saucepan heating here on the stove. And I'm going to put the prosciutto in there and cook that for about 5 minutes, mostly just to render out that fat that's in there. In the meantime, on the back burner here, I've got 1 cup, 240 milliliters of milk that I'm just heating up to get it warm before I add it to the prosciutto. There's my timer. This has been cooking for 5 minutes. And you can probably see some liquid in the bottom of that pan. Most of that is the fat rendered from the prosciutto, which is why I didn't have to add any oil to that pan. Now I'm going to add my hot milk. I'm going to add some black pepper. Stir that in. And what I'm going to do, and this is what's really strange about this recipe, is I'm going to simmer this until most of the liquid has been reduced down to, or pretty near gone. Most of the liquid will be evaporated. What I think we're doing here is gathering the fat from the milk. That's why I didn't drain any fat from that prosciutto. This, I think, is a fatty dish. While I'm waiting for the prosciutto to cook, let's talk about the tomatoes. Depending upon what's available in your area, you can either use this. This is a 28-ounce can, which is 794 grams. I'm actually going to use this larger can. This is 35 ounces, nearly a kilogram, because I want to make a lot of sauce because I plan to freeze it and use it later. All right, let's see if I can do this without making too much of a mess. I want to puree my tomatoes. So I'm going to put part of this can in there. And then using an immersion blender, I want to blend those. All right, so there is the prosciutto. You can see how little liquid there is left in the bottom of that pan. I did not mention it earlier. I've been cooking this over medium-low heat, stirring it every once in a while. You don't have to stir it constantly, and this process takes 10 to 12 minutes. All right, let's see how much this pan will hold. I can move to a larger pan if I need to. Here is my tomato puree. And then what I have here is 2 cups, 475 milliliters of stock. I'm using beef stock. You can use chicken stock. I prefer the flavor of beef stock in this. I'm going to bring this up to a boil and then reduce the heat and simmer this. And you can simmer this as long as you want to thicken the sauce. There is my sauce. I just turned the heat off under it. This simmered for 1 hour. You can tell by the high water mark in that pan that it has gone down some. It's a little on the watery side. The original recipe said that this is a sauce that is typically eaten a little on the watery side. I do want to taste this for salt. You'll notice I haven't added any salt to this. And that's because I'm expecting most of the salt that I need to come from the prosciutto. Yes, if anything, that's a little bit on the salty side. I don't like salty food, but that tastes pretty good. So before you reach for the salt, check the sauce because it's going to pick up salt from the prosciutto. I made some pasta dough earlier, but you can use any pasta that you like. Fettuccine, tagliatelle, I think linguine would be good with this. I am heating some water on the stove to cook my pasta. Fresh pasta cooks in like a minute or less. So I'm going to start running this through my pasta machine. Okay, there's a nice big sheet of pasta. I'm going to cut that in half first because this is too big to cut all at once. And then what I'm going to do is, I can get this out of the way. I'm going to kind of cut this into a rustic pattern, some wide, some narrow, like so. Because that's what I saw in a photograph, and I liked the looks of that. It looked more like a homemade pasta. Okay, there's my pasta. Gonna just flour that lightly so that it doesn't stick to itself. As I was cutting this, I was thinking this pasta sauce would even be good with pappardelle, which is a large pasta. All right, I'm waiting for my water to come up to a boil and I can cook this. Here is my freshly cooked pasta. Let's see, I think I'll put it all on there. Full plate always looks good. Okay. And then my sauce. That looks wonderful. And then finally you can garnish that with a little bit of cheese. And that is ready to serve. Okay, there it is. I haven't made this in a while, but I do really like this. That sauce is just right. That tastes good too. It's got a meaty flavor to it. Kind of a bold, intense flavor. That is really good. So excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy, what is this, a late lunch, an early dinner of my pasta with prosciutto. For a printable PDF copy of this recipe with step-by-step photographs, visit my website, mobilehomegourmet.com, and look on the home page or in the recipe archive.